Man. Why are you gonna act like that this time? What am I doing wrong here? There we go.
Yeah, boy.
What's up, buddy?
What? Yeah, boy.
You come on.
No, you come on. All right. Sorry, I haven't got you the script yet. This is late as usual. I know.
Yeah, come on.
Uh,
I just sent Brad a message that said the practice session was live now. Come on,
Come on.
dude. So I'm blowing glass light out last night with my friend Kevin, and he's a big hockey fan. Not as big as me, but he's a big hockey fan. And I was like, I saw your text, and so I looked, and I was like, oh fuck, the Leafs are down 3-1 already. And like, dude, then I looked back later, and it was like 6-1. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he goes, what? And I go, I was totally wrong about the Leafs being down 3-1 because they're up 6-1 now in Tampa, so it's pretty impossible for it to be 3-1 the other direction. And he was like, holy shit. Yeah, I'm like this. I was listening to Gloom and Doom. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I know. You're listening to me.
Yeah. Shit ain't over.
Did you ever meet Brent?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna.
I played with him in a rapid run in the 96 Edgewood.
Okay.
Or maybe it was the 97.
The 97 Edgewood. I remember going down to that tournament with Joe Finkelman, Danny Tiso, Skio, I think Muller, and Tibor.
Really?
Yeah. I remember we played on the amp side, so when we came over to the pro side, we showed up at Mount Airy, and it was like just a couple holes left to play, and that was the first time we got to see Brad Hambrick play, and it was honestly electrifying.
Yeah.
Like to see this little guy
Just
just
fucking fling it.
uncork these massive things, you know? Hmm.
Yeah, he did throw far. And you know, I talked to him. I guess it was at the Memorial this year, a little bit, maybe, or it was somewhere. Maybe it was at USCGC last year. But you know, like he used to throw. I remember him throwing these black gazelles in like '96, and
Hmm.
fuck, dude, just like fucking. There was that like they had that finals at I think it was a temporary course at Oxbow, and hit one of the holes was across the water, and it was like 4 1/4, and like he was putting it in the circle, like he was still putting from 30, but you know, like he had to throw like three fucking, probably had to throw like 390 to carry the water, or you're gonna be in the cattails right there. And he just, you know, he'd do his turn all the way around backwards with his back to the target and just mash it. But you know,
You know
people's
what? You
skills,
can't see that.
people's
I need
skills
to
are a little bit
export that.
lacking.
Yes, they were very lacking. Although I remember him making a speech, I think it was at that Edgewood Electric, um, or it might have been somewhere else where he was talking about just, what?
It wasn't
He
when
was
he
talking,
talked about getting dropped on his head, right? Was it?
no, no, he was talking
That
about,
was at the island, but if that was the one you're talking about.
no, he was talking about just the phrase squibbies off the nub. And he was talking about hitting the nubs on the old Mach ones, twos, and threes. And just the
Oh
phrase
yeah, like
squibbies off the nub was like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Is this guy for real? Oh my god, that's awesome. We use that phrase amongst us like I don't even know. Okay, I'm gonna mail you. Okay, I just did the script.
Squibby's up. Yeah, I forgot about those Mach 1 or 2 conversions. That bank lick, man. I tell you, That grass was so nice, but holy shit, that time it rained was crazy.
Hey, tell me if you tell me when you get that email.
It sounded like I just got it. Let me look. Got it.
Nice, 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 nice. Oh, what research notes? Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't have much.
What are you
Four
talking about?
pages.
Is it 4 pages?
Fucking right, guy.
Oh no.
I think you got plenty. We'll start with the pleases and the I'll tell you what's here in a minute.
There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, we definitely have. So let me just, I didn't flesh out my side of the origin story. Put that in there now, but it doesn't matter. Um, okay, so
I got it.
I'm gonna read the intro.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, and then so
I got
this
it.
your when okay, so I'm gonna read my piece, and then you right here, the second your first part there. I just thought it would be nice if we, because we know our guests, but it'd be nice to put a little framework kind of on our guests. Like I kind of reference things in the intro, but um, I think it'd be good to just put it into perspective. You know, he's been on the tour for the last 32 years, Global Masters Series, 53. Like you can skip through this. It's kind of wordy, but you can look at that
So you
and
want
you
me to
don't.
run that down,
Yeah, rather than
or do you want me to give him a chance to respond to any of that?
yeah, no. I mean, play like you can say, hey, talk to that if you want. I don't know, play it by ear, but I want to give you that section just set up because like maybe people. I just talked to Twirly called, and so I was talking to Twirly after you hung up, and he was saying Carl listens every day, every time we have a show,
Oh,
and
nice. That's
so
cool.
Carl might not have ever met Brad Schick. So for the average Carl out there, just to put it a little bit in perspective, I mean, the whole show's gonna put it in perspective, but just to like, why are we talking to this guy? Oh yeah, he's kind of a shoe in for Hall of Fame. He's already in one Hall of Fame,
Oh yeah,
kind
he's
of a
somebody
shoe
who's
in.
doing for a Hall of Fame for sure. I'm gonna go grab this off the counter. Yeah, I sent Jack a message and he didn't respond. So whatever with that.
You know what? I texted Juice saying, "Hey man, give us your picks. What's going on?" And nothing. So all right, fuck him. He can get in the second round, but he's not in it to win it overall.
Is everything split?
Yeah.
Nobody's won two?
Oh no. Oh, sorry. With that. Yeah. No. Carolina and the Rangers have won too.
Oh, that's right.
None of us, I don't think. Wait, let me just go back to the original picks.
I think I picked Carolina.
No, only Jack picked the Rangers. The three of us picked the Devils.
Well, yeah, but Jack picked against your team and my team, and we both know what's going to happen there. Fuck Jack.
Okay. Got the intro done. And one last line to finish. So I'll do the intro. You do the framing. I'll start in with the origin story, and within that, I think we can bounce back and forth among the questions.
Hey, what's his BDGA number? Do you know?
7992, I believe. I thought I wrote that down. Yeah, that's a good one too. The circumstances of his.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was to go to Cincinnati. Am World's in '95.
He was pro by then.
He was pro by then.
Yeah. And he would have got it in 93. So I'm probably thinking for the Ohio State Championships.
Okay.
His first Worlds was the 96 Suck Bend Worlds. And he cashed at his first ever Worlds.
Of course he did. He's
His
fucking good.
first USDGC 25 years ago, he took ninth, one stroke behind Barry Schultz.
Pretty solid.
Now, we can during the when you I think it'd be maybe best. I'm just continuing down the list here, and I got to the Brent Hambrick side. Definitely, I only I think I met Brent once, and I certainly saw him from afar. You know, from deep in the M2 field, I could see the top pro driving a red. I don't know what that convertible was. Do you know?
It was I think it was a Z28.
Okay, I just remember him just flashy and splashy and like, whoa, look at this guy. But
Yeah, well, you know, at that point he didn't care anymore.
no,
He was
but I
definitely
mean,
committed to having a good time
you
and
can.
enjoying his final days.
I think it's good that you can introduce that, but I definitely would like to talk about the first one, um, so we can bounce around between that. And if we, you know, we can skip over things if you want because it is long here. Of course, we don't have to get through it all, and we can let it go where it goes. But this is just
Well,
a rough idea of what we want to do.
and puck drops at 8:30. I mean 8:50. So you know, I mean,
Ugh. 850 Central.
yeah,
Right.
that's right.
That's right.
You got it.
Meow.
7992. You're right.
Ha. You steel fucking trap, Mace.
Yeah, come on.
So in the course of my research, I watched a video of a quick video, but Stokely interviewing Brad. Um, but he did it on the course, and I think it was right before a tournament, and it just kind of looked awkward. And I don't know how we look to other people. Like it would be interesting to see, you know, someone critical of our take look at us and go, look at these goofballs. They can't even finish a fucking sentence or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, and
I would love.
I think, yeah, I do know what you mean, and I think that alone gives merit to us doing watching. We should watch the show again, you know, just to kind of like to tune it up more than anything. But you don't have to blow it out the window. I'm all right with it.
She's right there. What? Oh, hi. Are you there? Hi. Did you meet Gordon Holton?
Oh, of course. He was a local here when I started golfing.
Oh, that's right. He was from Texas.
I don't know that he was from here, but I think he was living down here going to school.
Oh, yeah. No, I think he was from West Virginia, actually. Now that I think
He was
about
in
it.
the waiting room. Says he's in the waiting room. What does that mean?
Who's in the waiting room?
Brad.
Natty, what does in the waiting room mean? How do they get to the webinar? Yeah, this is one of the panelists. So Mace, what does he have to do? With your mouse, hover over their name, click on it, and drag it over to the panelist side. Oh, or maybe there's a button that comes up at mid on stage.
Where do I find that out?
If you take your mouse and hover it over Brad's name.
Where?
Brad's name where? Natty? Brad's name where? Our guest's name where? Do you see Brad's name in the waiting room?
No, I don't know where the waiting room is.
He doesn't. What? Mace's. Only you can let him in, but you have to. He doesn't know how to get to the waiting room.
I'm kind of dumb sometimes.
Can you click on the participant list at the bottom of your screen?
Yeah, it's just got me in there and you.
It says he says it just got me and him in the participant list. Did you send Brad a panelist invite?
Yeah, I mean, I put it on that same page that I always do.
Oh,
Here he
wait a
comes.
minute.
There's
There he.
Timmy
Oh no,
Gill.
that's Timmy Gill.
What's up, dude?
Good evening,
There.
fellas.
Good
How you
evening.
doing?
How you doing,
Hanging
buddy?
in there, man. Hanging in there.
Wow, that first game was just. Did you stay up the whole night watching it?
Oh, you better believe it. Absolutely.
Like people ask me that question, like for what's his name? Tony McGann. He's like, I hope you stayed. And I was like, I don't leave. Okay. Like I stay, like I left that night after they scored the goal. I said, fuck. And I didn't even wait for the 3 stars. But I always, I almost always wait for the 3 stars unless we just got our asses handed to. That's when I'll leave. That's leaving early for me, is skipping the 3 stars.
Yep, yep. Yeah, that first game was awesome. And then obviously with Flower in the second game, I'm not going to blame it all on Flower because the Stars obviously outplayed us. We're missing a couple of key players. And, the second game's always a tough one after the home team loses the first one. So, hey, we'll see what happens tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, look
Yeah,
what happened to the Leafs bounce back. I had the actual experience of a dagger plunging right into my sphincter on the first game, and then like the Leafs did them one better. We'll score
I was
faster than you guys. We'll score the same, but we'll let in less than you did. Wow.
I was thinking of you. And then the 7 goals, was it 7 goals? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome, man.
But I'm looking at the results so far, and none of us picked the Rangers. Only Jack Lowe is. I think frankly, he sounds like a made up person, but I don't know. I'm feeling
No,
maybe
And
well,
wasn't he?
well,
And wasn't he a Devils fan to begin with too?
I
So
know,
Yeah,
right?
Devils and Blackhawks. Like he lived in Chicago for a while, so he jumped on that wagon too. And man, I don't understand this. I'm trying to figure out what.
He's trying to get Brad in. I think Brad is somewhere in the waiting loop of the whole Zoom webinar where
I don't understand.
Luddites,
It makes no sense.
neo
Awesome.
techno Luddites, or as Judd Nelson or Judd Hirsch would say, or Judd Nelson would say, neo maxi Zoom dweebies,
right on.
Breakfast Club.
So I would imagine Brad is a Blue Jackets fan.
He didn't even want to get involved in this, so I don't know if he's on that at all.
Yeah, I was going to say I never knew him as being a hockey guy because when we were buddies back in the day, I don't think the Blue Jackets were even around. So
Yeah, I mean, in states where it's not traditionally a hockey environment, it's a really hit or miss application of it.
for
It's
sure.
up individual personal experience. But true hockey nations like Minnesota's, of course, one of the hottest hockey hotbeds. I know Boston gets the whole Beanpot tournament, and they get a lot of glory because they happen to be on the East Coast. But the cradle of American hockey is Minnesota.
Well,
100%.
thank you, sir.
I mean, Herb
Well, I mean,
Brooks.
that's
Herb
pretty,
Brooks.
That's why we need a cup.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so crushing when the North Stars left for Dallas. It didn't make sense.
I know. Losing a
all right.
team.
I'm not gonna talk any shit. I'm not gonna rub anything in because that, like, honestly, I didn't bring you on for that. I didn't invite you on for that.
I know.
Seriously.
I know.
And but I mean, like, one of the things I want to talk about, one of the things that drives me crazy as a hockey fan, and one of the things that I'm at a disadvantage against you two is that I never. Hey, there's Brad.
Wait.
Hey, that was his
There he
high
is.
school graduation picture, probably. What's up, Brad Schick?
Yeah.
Tim Gill, holy crap, dude.
Brad Schick, how you doing, brother?
What is up?
We're talking a little hockey.
Yeah, you just jumped in. I was about to say, so Timmy, like, I mean, both. I don't know how much Paul played when he was little, but I know you played a lot. But he grew up around it too, and I didn't. And so, like, all my knowledge comes from going to the games and then reading, and I read a lot. And so I don't. It just baffles me why does officiating change sometimes drastically? And I'm not going to say it's 100% drastically right now, but from the playoffs, from regular season to the playoffs, it's almost like they just light the rule book on fire and walk away from it. And I don't get that. I mean, why would you change that in the playoffs? I mean, everything ramps up anyways. I don't really think that officiating needs to change. You know what I mean?
Well, I actually just heard today that the crew that we're going to have tonight is different from the previous game and the previous one. They switch them up all the games. You never have the same crew.
I thought it was going to be the same guys all the way through.
Nope.
No,
Thank goodness, because hopefully the next guy will call those cross checks from Suter on Kaprizov because that was bullshit.
Yeah. We could go on and on about that stuff. I mean, I could talk about that too, but it's just, I mean, that's man, it's just, you know what I'm talking about though, right? I mean, it happens, happen every year, and you're just like, what the, like, seriously, why? Just call it the same way.
This is why the teams that are the tight checkers, the heavy D teams, the back end centered ones, they thrive because it's just about the swarming shutdown. It's about getting away with the greasy stuff. And it's rare that you get the skill players that just get to go. It's throwback to the 80s, hooking and clutching. Now, Brad, one of the questions we asked was, I know you're not a total hockey fan, but do you have some love in your heart for the Columbus Blue Jackets?
Oh, they're terrible. I mean, I live like 15 minutes away. It's a blast to go and watch the games, but I think they were trying to lose everything on purpose to get that first round pick, but I don't know that it's going to work out. So,
well, not with the lottery. I mean, in my era, it may not, but the lottery. I don't know. Let's just make it better. I'm Gary Bettman, and we're going to make it better.
Well, they fired Brad Larson, I heard, so that's start, I guess.
If they get Bedard, if they do get that first pick and they get Bedard, I mean, it's game changing, once in a generation
For anyone.
pick. Yeah.
So,
Brad, just before we started, or last week, sorry, on Sunday, we did a little playoff hockey picks, and so we just wanted to spend the first cup kind of before we actually start the show, just
Yeah.
kind of doing some John about that. So, I mean, you're more than welcome to hang out and participate in this particular part. But so sorry, Timmy, you were waxing on about I cut you off in the middle of something there.
Was it when I was bitching about the refs and the hacking of our best player, the fifth
Yeah.
best player in the whole NHL?
Yeah. Oh, contentious.
I'll settle for second best. I don't give a shit.
So
Whatever he wants, as long as he scores.
after 2 games, okay, let's just look. Timmy, you pick we all pick Colorado 4 or 5 games, and Seattle winning that first game. I mean, we've had some upsets already the first game of the first round. That's
And they
what the
were up
first round is
2-0
for.
last night.
Yeah, the Kraken definitely aren't just going to go away.
I mean,
And
none of us
that
gave
game
them
last night
any,
was a good game too. I mean, the
none of us
Winnipeg,
gave them any respect. Oh, sorry, go
the
ahead.
Knights got away from the Knights got away from Winnipeg last night. And, I kind of thought that was going to stay tight, and then it didn't.
We
And
all called Winnipeg, so let's hope they keep going to the wall
boy,
on
the,
that
the
one.
Knights looked like they heard that last night or something, man.
Now,
But
we might as well talk about between you two, dramatic first game, double overtime.
I'm not making any more predictions than the one I made in the first place. I mean, I think that you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you can look at what happened here. Wouldn't surprise me at all if we split. It wouldn't surprise me if either one of us won both of the next game. I mean, it's tight, it's close. I just wonder, what do you I mean? Do you not feel like you're wasting a scoring roster spot with Ryan Reeves or with Ryan Reeves? Yeah, isn't that his name, Ryan Reeves?
Yeah, he's actually solid, and he's our big tough guy. So he's going to be the guy if we do go after Suter tonight. He'll be the guy to go ahead and do it. But no, I think he's much needed because he's imposing, and he even just looks across to the other
He
bench,
is.
and the other bench feels it.
He's definitely imposing. He's definitely imposing.
Yeah.
But he's
Big
definitely
dude.
like the dying breed too. Like he might be the last one.
Yeah, totally, man. But going back to that game, though, I mean, there was almost 100 shots on goals between the two teams. I think you guys had 52 shots on goals, and we had 49
First
or
game,
something.
yeah.
I mean, that
Yeah,
was insane, man. Both
okay, so
goalies
are we
were.
gonna see? You think we're gonna see Flower again? I don't.
Let's pray to God not tonight. I was just watching the news right now, and they haven't even said.
I thought I read earlier that they did say that it was going to be gusty tonight.
Well, let's hope it is.
I mean, and that's what Evason keeps saying over and over and over again. He's like, "Oh yeah, we've rotated all year. That's what we're going to keep doing." It's like, okay, well, but I mean, like everybody, like I was like, what? Why would you not put Gustafson back in there one time after that game he had? I mean, I think if there was a time to change plans, that would be the time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But hey, I didn't mind it.
Well, and just that, what bothers me about him is he flops around like a fish, and that affects our defense. But I'm an old defenseman, so you got to be, you kind of have a feel of where your goalie is and whatnot. He's just all over the place and flopping around, and that makes the decor not play as good. So it's just a nightmare. No. Hopefully we don't see him again.
Is this the last year of his contract?
I think he has one more. But we have a guy down in Iowa at our minor league squad who's like a superstar coming up. So maybe we'll cut him, trade him. Who knows?
Right.
Send him down to the minors like we did Hudobin.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chicago. That's what part of the deal with Domi. We shipped Hudobin to Chicago. I was like, sweet.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, loved you a while back, but see ya.
So the LA Edmonton series, both of you guys called Edmonton in 4, so obviously you're out of the running in that.
And we already got an X, Timmy.
I said Edmonton in 6,
No
so I
check
still
mark.
got a chance. But again, there's LA surprising Edmonton in the first game. Another. Not to say that that's necessarily a huge upset, but not in the Seattle versus Colorado, but still a lower seed beating the higher seed in the first game at home in Edmonton, City of Champions.
That was crazy.
Now, how about last night or the 2 nights ago, Boston and Florida evening series 6-3. That's none of us really saw
Nobody
that
saw
coming.
that coming.
No,
No, no way.
certainly I'm out of the running for that. I said Boston was a clean sweep, so I'm out.
What did
I
I
think I
say?
said they were
I
too.
think I said in 5, didn't I?
You both said 5, yeah. Actually,
Okay.
you
All right.
and
Well, we're
Jack as
still
well.
on track.
Still in on that.
All right.
Toronto, Tampa. Welcome to the whiplash. This is highest scoring game so far in the playoffs. First round, 19 goals in 2 games. Boy, I don't want to be the guy trying to break it down for that.
Oh, dude.
Oh, dude. But between us, we called Timmy, you said Toronto in 5, so Toronto's got to get its act together now.
Yep.
Ace, you said 7, I said 6. All 3 of us said Toronto. Jack's the only lone wolf saying Tampa in 5, so that means that Toronto's going to lose the next 3. Screw you, Jack. That's all I can say. Now we get to Carolina. We were all actually no. Timmy, you said the Islanders in 6, which now they need to win the next 4 to do it. I mean,
That was barbecue
Carolina goes up
motivated.
too.
Timmy just picked him because he's fed the captain before in his backyard.
Yep, exactly. Homer.
Not a bad reason. Not a bad reason at all.
That's a pretty
Nobody
good
else can
reason.
claim
And
that. I mean,
again,
none of us. That is.
none of us picked the Rangers. We all went with Devils. You 2 and 6. I said 5, which is not going to happen. So I'm out of that as well. But only oh no, sorry, we all said 7. And Jack said New York Rangers in 5. So again, he's up on us.
He's alive.
This
He's definitely answering the question that I sent him when he sent all these picks over. I go, have you even been watching NHL games? I mean,
Wow.
seriously.
What's your favorite expression there, Mace? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
That's one of my favorites. I mean,
Yeah.
So things are looking pretty good so far in the first round, eh?
Yeah, we're all still kind of in it.
I mean, it's still early, some early moves, and tonight's back in Minnesota. So, Timmy, you got to get your game face on here pretty soon.
Definitely. Definitely. It's going to be so loud and awesome in the X tonight. It's just, they have the whole whiteout thing
Are you
going
going?
on. No,
no.
But
I might go on Sunday. I do have a possibility of going on Sunday. So if they win tonight, I'll be more encouraged to go on Sunday night.
Nice.
Yeah, I understand that. All right, well, it's 7:00.
Good.
So
So let's
we'll go ahead and
thank you.
we'll go live. We'll start with talking about hockey stuff, and then you can tip out, Timmy, and we'll move on with Brad.
Oh, I thought that was the hockey stuff.
Yeah, but that's not the show. The show starts at 7.
We've been recording.
Yeah, we are recording, but we were talking it over. So we're about to go through that all again.
Oh, sorry, Brad.
That's all right. Brad's catching up on work. Can't you tell?
I actually hate looking at stuff, so you're good.
he's faking some credentials.
Hey,
as we
Timmy, are you
speak.
gonna play? Are you playing golf anymore?
I get out and I actually trained a heck of a lot getting ready for the memorial. I was ready to go, but then my neck and my back started hurting. I had to withdraw, so I was bummed. I was throwing really good. It's all about my injury. So if once I'm healthy, I'll be right there battling with you again, kid.
Oh, I love it, man. That's awesome.
Nice.
Good to see you.
Definitely. And now with this whole new Masters tour, you probably know way more about it than I do. Fill me in real quick.
I've played Masters about 8 times ever, so I don't really follow it too much. Most of the stuff seems to be out on the West Coast and not really around us or in the Midwest so much. But I don't know.
Yeah, not till like July or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
So,
here we go live, y'all.
cool.
You can jump that back in on that, but I'm just letting you know.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Good Times Hour.
Welcome to the Good Times Hour. Now we're going to start this special. We're in the playoffs edition, let's just call it. So we've got a special little segment to start off with our guest Timmy Gill. You can see down below or wherever you happen to be looking on your screen. There's Brad Schick as well. We've got a special introduction for Brad, but we're going to start first of a couple minutes. We're going to talk hockey so far, what's happening in the first round with our playoff prognosticator, Timmy Gill. And where do you want to start, Mace?
What's that?
Where do you want to start?
Start wherever. I mean, I think you can run it down from the east to the west, or what? I mean,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with me near and dear. Game 2 in the books last night, and it was a ferocious reply. That was a hell,
Ferocious.
hell of a way to start. And really, it's like as if the Easter Bunny dropped a turd in your sock when you
In
woke
your
up in the
basket.
morning. Like that first game, literally a minute and a half in, and we're down a goal. What? I just cracked the. Oh,
This
so
is
it was-
this is how much gloom and doom he was casting. I was at the glass studio last night working on some pieces with a friend of mine, and I sat down on the bench and I pick up my phone, and I'm not paying attention to see that it's Lightning versus Toronto, and I said to my buddy who's also a hockey fan that I was splitting time with, I go, oh shit, Leafs are already down 3-1, and then I go back and I'm like, holy shit, I was wrong. They're up 6-1. And I was like, and it was just based on Paul going, oh, I don't know if I'm even going to tune in. This is already going wrong. And I was like, wait a minute. What do you mean it's going wrong? You were up 3-1 when you said that. Have you
No,
watched yet? He goes, yeah, I'm watching. I'm not going to bed. It's a school night.
It wasn't school night. It was past my bedtime, but I had the headphones on, listening to Brad Schick videos, preparing for this. But visually I was watching the Leafs, and yeah, well, sometimes a blind squirrel does find a nut. So 7-2 victory. We evened up the series. Now, in terms of our prognostications, the three of us at least, we called Toronto. So we're all still within the realm. We said Toronto 5, 6, and 7. So that series at least is still on the go for all three of us. Next up, Boston, Florida. Florida, sorry, with that mean right hook to come back. I don't know. We all looked at Boston.
That's all they get.
Now, because Florida tied it up, I said Boston with a sweep, so I'm out. So now you two guys, you both called Boston in 5. That puts the pressure on Boston to win the next 3.
What did Jack say on that one?
Jack said Boston in 5 as well. Okay, so
There you go. So that's like the only thing that a bunch of us agreed on.
Now, Carolina, New York Islanders. There's something that if you just looked at the stats, it would be pretty easy to call, but it's kind of amazing so far with the first round. We've had some upsets in the first game, and Carolina's come out 2 games on top. We all called, no, sorry, Timmy, you called the Islanders in 6. So the Islanders have to go 4 straight from now for you to stay in it. And I said Carolina in 5, and you said Carolina in 6, Mace. And Jack said Islanders as well in 6. So we'll have to keep our eye on that.
Split
barbecue
decision.
sauce on the side. And finally, to finish up the East, and I'll let you take over with the West after this. New Jersey, New York Rangers. 3 of us, at least, we were all assured looking at Jersey's regular season record. We thought Jersey, all of us called Jersey in 7 at least. And to be fair, you need to lose 3 games in order to get to game 7. So, but the Devils
So they're
down
well
2
on their way.
already. They're well underway. But you know how momentum happens, right? I mean, Timmy, you played it at certain levels of hockey. You know, like the tilting of the ice, it can change in a heartbeat. But once you feel behind the 8 ball, man, it's tough to get the legs going, right?
Oh, big time. And and definitely if the kind of like the Wild did, you get a road win that changes things immediately. And then you come home in front of your home crowd like we're going to be tonight. And I don't want to start talking Western Conference already, but
It's a good segue.
it just it does change really quick with the switch of the locations and whatnot. So yeah, that's going to be huge.
So great segue. Let's just go right into Minnesota, Dallas. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, so we're gonna go. I was gonna save that one for last, just because we.
Oh, okay. What do you want to start with
It's
then?
quite all right.
What do you want to start
It's
with?
quite all right. So I mean, obviously, Dallas and Minnesota are sitting at 1-1. There was a, game and a half of overtime, or almost another game worth of overtime, and I was there, and that was the latest I'd ever been in that building when I wasn't working. I've worked till like 3 a.m. in there, but I'd never been in there as a customer that late. It's kind of weird leaving, at that point in time. I don't know. Have you sat in any of those long overtime games? I mean, Timmy?
That was the longest game that the Wild have ever played in. So not quite that late. No, especially with the 8:50 start, which
was just ridiculous. Again tonight.
Yep. Again tonight.
Although I will say that it got me in the glass studio 2 nights this week where I probably would have had to cancel otherwise. I was like, wait a minute, 8:30, that means 8:50. You know, all I got to do is adjust both of these days an hour. And one of my buddies was like, "Yeah, let's just do it 2 hours." And I was like, "Even better." So that worked out
Absolutely.
good. Worked
Yeah,
out
so
well.
it really should be fun tonight. Like I was saying before we started recording, you know, the Wild are getting 3 key players back, one of which you know very well. He used to play for the Dallas Stars in Klingberg. So why don't you tell
Oh,
me
he's
about
coming back
his?
tonight, huh?
He's coming back tonight. So what was he like for you guys down in Dallas? Because he's
Well,
more of an offensive minded D man.
he's a
So
lot more
he's
of an offensive minded D man, but at the same time, you know, it's kind of been. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm not a fan now. I mean, he's just not on our team, but I was disappointed that they didn't extend him. But it seems like things went well without him. So, you know, honestly though, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him come out with a big chip on his shoulder because he wanted to stay here. You know, like he just had a baby. You know, he got married the summer before, or maybe he got some married. Maybe it was the opposite of that. I think he had the baby first, and then they went and got married last summer. But you know, and he turned down a deal. I don't know if not everybody knows that, but they offered him an 8-year deal, and it came out later, and his agent encouraged him to turn it down, and then nobody bit in free agency, and so he fired his agent and he bit that year. So it's not been good for him, you know, and it's kind of sucks because I liked him. I mean, he's a solid player, but he's had a
yeah,
tough.
he's only been with us for like maybe 15, 20 games, but he's looked good so far. And then he got hurt, obviously, the last couple of games. But you know, he can skate, he can move the puck. So you
Yeah,
know,
he's
he
good
can
on the blue line for sure, and he's you know, but him leaving here though opened up some opportunity for other people in the power play, and so you know, I
absolutely.
mean, I don't know, a lot of people that sit around me at the games really hated him, and they talked a lot of shit about him, and I was just like, hey, this is what we got. Who are you going to replace? Where else are you going to find a right-handed D-man? You know, I mean, it's not like there's 15 of them in free agency every summer.
Right, right. Yeah, and then we're getting Eriksson Ek back, and he's a centerman. And you guys killed us on draws, man. You guys beat us by like 20-some draws, man.
We do
And
that regularly.
those two power play goals you guys got, just ding bang boom right out the
Oh
draw.
yeah, 9 seconds
That was
between the
brutal.
two.
So we're getting a guy back who's good at draws, and Eriksson Ek. And then we get Hartman back, who obviously scored the game winner in game 1. He missed game number 2. So he's coming back tonight too. So we're getting some firepower back. So that's really gonna help.
We picked up Hartman as a rental, I believe, the year before y'all signed him, like in that
I think
season
so.
before y'all signed him. And I don't remember what it was. I read something, but he was kind of bitter that they didn't sign him, and I didn't understand it because I liked him. I mean, he's the kind of player he's the kind of forward that I like. He's got a little salt in his game, and you know, and he's going to play well, but he's going to play with a lot of grit too. And so you know, I think tonight will be a really good game.
Absolutely.
So-
And with Gus Bus back in the nets, I mean,
We got you guys.
Okay,
Obviously.
so let's talk about this. I was reading and like I don't know if either of y'all read The Athletic. It's a subscription online internet, you know, magazine and whatnot. And man, the guy that writes for the Wild is really, really he's kind of strangely aggressive at times on some of the articles.
Michael Russo.
No, not Michael Russo, like Jeff Smith or something like that.
It's Joe Smith. Yep.
Joe Smith, the dude who that tweet I sent you yesterday. So that guy, I'm gonna look at this. You guys, this is pretty cool, and I think Brad will even get a kick out of this. This guy talking about Gustafson, calling Gus the Bus, and he goes, all you need is someone to believe in you. Philip Gustafson thought this could have been his last year playing in North America, but the riddle-making, disc golf playing, pranking Swede has been a game changer for the Minnesota Wild. Behind the rise of the Gus Bus, and you know, like that's one of the things that's really cool. Like we're seeing that a lot. You know, it's just like, oh, by the way, he plays golf. Oh, she plays golf. You know, so I mean, and obviously that's the common thread between the 4 of us, without a doubt.
But now an
Super
NHL
cool.
player's playing. That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
So I guess it's not going to surprise anybody to catch up that Timmy, you picked Minnesota, and Mace, you picked Dallas.
Both in 7, right?
Both in 7. I picked Dallas in 6, and Jack picked Mini in 6. So it's shaping up very nicely, and we're going to try to make sure we wrap this up in time for Mace to get in front of his television. Timmy, you're going to be wrapped up well beforehand, so you'll have a couple of pregame celebratings to go on.
Well, we can bust through these last 3 on the Western side real easy because Edmonton and LA are 1-1, and I think we're all. Did anybody predict a sweep there?
Yes, Timmy and Timmy and Mace, you guys predicted Edmonton sweep,
Oh, I
so
did too. That's right.
you're both
Yeah, I
out of the
didn't think there
running
was
on
any
that
way
one.
the Kings were going to beat him. So, all right, we're both out on that. And then Vegas tied things up with Winnipeg last night, and
Interesting
Colorado
enough,
did as
all
well.
four of us picked Winnipeg. All four of us.
Really,
Six and 7 games. So
that's
it's
still a lot, and I could see that. I don't see that changing much.
now in terms of Colorado, Seattle, Timmy and Jack are out because they both predicted sweeps. But we all picked Colorado, all four of us. So if
I think that's still totally doable.
still totally
But
doable.
I think that Seattle's
Yeah.
probably going to put up a bigger fight than any of us thought.
Well, I didn't
Based
realize
on the
they
way
had
they
Jordan
played those
Everly.
2 games.
It's still very early in the first round. Obviously, we've only got 2 series that are heading towards a possible sweep, but first round, and especially if you take it to the next city, anything can happen. So we'll have to see. But let's say thank you, Timmy,
Thanks for
for
stopping
showing
by,
up,
Tim.
stopping by, and
Thanks for
you know,
having me,
chatting
guys.
with this. We'll continue to do this as a feature through the playoffs, and hopefully you'll still
Even
be
when our teams are
available,
eliminated, if that happens.
even if and when they are eliminated. So
Yeah.
have fun tonight, brother. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the
All right.
game.
Thank you much. And Brad, it was wonderful seeing you, brother.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I miss you, Timmy. Good to see you, bud.
How's the wifey?
She's doing well. She's doing well. She's keeping me in line. So
All right. Good to hear. Good to hear. All right, man.
see you.
See you.
All right, see you later, Tim.
All right. Well, let's
Brad, get ready for this.
transition right into the next part of the show. And Brad, I haven't had the pleasure of being able to introduce you on the Toronto Island Maple Leaf Tournament weekend. I know you've had amazing success over a long time of years on the Toronto Island, but one of the things that I do on
Oh,
the
you've
Toronto
done
Island
it.
for
You did it
tournament-
the last time I was there when I won, as a matter of fact. You just don't
Okay.
remember.
Okay, well, I guess I gotta go back to my research there.
You
but,
have you had a good one.
well, hopefully you'll enjoy this one. Here we go.
Oh God, I don't know.
It's not gonna go. I hope it's just gonna be a light little poke. But
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, please help me welcome our next special guest of the tee. He's the baby-faced wonder who's always under par no matter the time or place. He's the lord of accolades and the master of memorials. Anything with someone's name on it, and he's in it to win it. He's the king of the courses and the highest flyer in C-Bus, the Baron of Buckeye City, who's always sitting pretty with the big boys come to Cowtown. This dewy-eyed Opie always made it in the hazy shade with those toys that Discraft made. And after 32 years on the tour, he still makes the grade. Ladies and gentlemen, next on the tee, he's the course record slaughter fiend from the Otterbean, the red and tan Cardi the Cardinal stand with the lambda game plan. Welcome, Brad. Welcome to the Schick Show, Schick.
I love it. Nice. Yeah, I haven't been in a few years, but you did it the last time. I think it was pre-COVID, and the music was on. Yeah, it was a good time. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, so thank you for taking the time, a little extra time there to for the hockey, but thanks for taking the time on a Friday for joining us to talk about this golf.
I didn't hear you mention the Blue Jackets in the playoffs. So are they
Yeah.
already? Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Rough year.
For sure. But that's the thing about the NHL. You never know what's going to happen next year too. You go skidding out. I mean, you guys got Gaudreau. That can't hurt. I mean,
Right.
It didn't help this year, but it can't hurt for all those years. I mean, you got 7 more to try.
Line and Gaudreau together, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt. Well, so Paul's done a great job with the script tonight, and he's given me a few things to run down real quickly about you, because there's probably a few people. I mean, you and I, the 3 of us know each other quite well, but there might be a few people, especially like in my neck of the woods, that have no idea who Brad Schick is. And so I'm going to read through a couple of these things, and we can stop and talk about any of it as we go, or we can go through it all, and then we can talk about it after. But first and foremost, thanks for being with us on the show tonight, for sure. You've been a member of the PDGA since '93, so that's 32 years. You're number 7992. What possessed you? What motivated you? I guess not possessed you. What was prompted you to get your number? Because I'm just ahead of you, and I think You are too, aren't you, Paul? Aren't you? At like
Oh, I'm
7?
ahead of both of you guys. Come on,
Oh,
top
wait.
the mic.
Oh, stop. But sorry. But like I'm
Yeah.
7477, so I'm just a little bit lower than you are. And Paul, you're
I'm 7224.
7224. So we're still all 7,000.
Yeah.
I think Timmy is too, isn't? If I'm not mistaken, I think Tim's in the 7,000s too, but I could be wrong about that.
What was the circumstances of your
Yeah,
PDGA?
absolutely. My brother and my dad got my brother and I playing when we were young. I think I was 12 or 13 and my brother's 3 years older. And we both played baseball. So we immediately kind of were hooked on disc golf. You know, not a team sport. When you sucked at baseball, it was like a team thing and you couldn't really do much about it. Disc golf being so low, it was all on you. I think we both kind of love that aspect of it. And he actually joined first. His PDGA is 7411 or 7311, I think is what it is. So he joined about maybe 6 months or so before I did. Then my dad joined just before me. I think he's like maybe 100 before me or 200 before me, something like that. And then I joined. I think I had to like save up all my allowance because they wouldn't pay for me. So but yeah, we joined and started playing tournaments, and that's kind of where it all started. And then once we started beating my dad, he got pissed off and quit. And then my brother got married, and we were both super competitive. He was always a little better than me to start, and then we started getting about the same. And then he got married and had kid, and then got very busy with life and kind of stopped playing. And then I just, kept going. So the
Yeah,
rest is history.
What was your dad's name? Was it Mike?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I remember me spending time with both your dad. I played with your brother a couple times, I think. But I
Yeah,
also
probably.
remember talking with your dad several times when I came up to the Brent and played that. So you're rated according to my information, you're rated 1,007. You've played 629 PDJ events and have amassed 183 wins, racking up 186, 669, 87 in cash. That's pretty impressive.
Or tell the IRS that.
Yeah, let's just
They're not
skim over that.
checking in on this.
Skip forward.
Yeah, my rating's in a free fall right now. I was up pretty decent in the mid-teens, I think, or like 1,015-ish. And I've been struggling, I think, since it takes me a little while in the spring and to get going and play some cold weather tournaments and play like crap and then play in the beginning of the year. And this year it's been kind of a really slow start. So I just need to get out there. The 3 or 4 tournaments that I played so far this year have all been just absolutely horrible weather. If it's not cold and raining, we've had like tornadic winds, 3 tournaments in a row. I thought this is the worst wind I've ever played in. Then the next weekend was just as bad. And then the weekend after that was almost worse. So it was almost like laughable where you just are literally trying to lay up from 14 feet and you don't know how, like that. I mean, it was insane. So not great for the ratings. And sadly, like this is the first time ratings have ever meant anything, like before it was just kind of something to brag about. And now it's actually, if you're going to get in a tournament, you need a rating to be a certain level or you can't play. And now,
or you have to wait for certain days, and then
Yeah.
and if it's gone, it's gone.
And it's gone. Yeah. I mean, like for
Mm.
Idlewild, the Disc Golf Pro Tour this year, I signed up within 30 seconds and I was 12th on the wait list because most of the touring players have already, reserved their spots, which totally makes sense. They deserve it. But yeah, it's just the game has changed. So
It'll be interesting to see how that rotates because, like, I've got a tournament next weekend. To be honest with you, I haven't really even looked at this very hard, but I mean, I'm on Disc Golf Scene, and I love that with the whole wait list and everything. And I'm not there yet, but it'll be interesting to see how that works for you. Being 12th on the wait list and see whether or not you get in. Because a lot of times, when is that event, by the way?
it's in July, I think. It's
And
it's out.
12
Yeah.
people will change their mind by then, though.
Yeah, I would hope. We'll see.
But I've heard,
Yes,
I saw somebody else post the other day too, talking about that, and they were like, "I'm 89th on the wait list," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"But like that might be a world championship too, actually." And
Yeah.
and so I don't know. That's going to be an interesting thing. See how that plays out this year too. How the wait lists come into play. And so you've won at every level, with the exception of winning a world championship. But you do have 2 U.S. Masters to your credit, and you've won at home. You've won around the reservoir, obviously around the country, and then several events, a few events in Toronto. And you're global master series rank is 53. And we'll talk more about that specifically later, but one of the things that I want to, that you talked with Timmy in the rehearsal a little bit ago earlier about, I'm a little curious about is, what is your plan on playing Masters or Open? I mean, it sounded like you were kind of leaning mostly Open based on what you
Yeah,
said with Timmy.
I think my plan is, so in the majors, I did play Masters a couple times last year. I don't know exactly how many, probably a handful, 3 or 4. And I'll be 46, in a couple of months. So I've been eligible for 6 years. And I think I've probably played a total of maybe 8 or 10 total, maybe more now, like 12. I don't even know, but
Yeah.
not a lot. And I think it's just my pride. Like it's lame. Like there's really no excuse. I still feel like on my good days I could compete with the good players. But now at the pro tours and things, these guys are, I mean, I watched the live coverage today and they're at a level that is just, it is beyond mind blowing. I mean, so, I think at the big A tiers and above, I'll probably start opting for Masters, just because I don't get to practice like that. I don't, I'm working all day and doing lessons a few times a week and things like that. So I really don't get out to play a whole lot. And so my expectation is at a level where I feel like I should be that good. And it's just not, it's not going to happen, right? Like back in the day, you could have a couple of bad rounds and still win. Now you have a bad round and you get 15th, like even at our B tiers, if you shoot 1,010, you're probably going to get 6th. Like it just, I mean, the level is so high. So, I think for B tiers and below, I still feel like, the wins aren't as important to me. Like I admire Schwebby and some of the others for like going after these huge numbers, but I would rather get, even at this point, I should say, I would still rather get 4th and Open than play Masters against 4 people or 6 people. Like that's just not what I'm after. I just still want to be competitive. And if I play well and I win, great. If I don't, then I get, 10th. So,
Well, and that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. And I don't really care to play tournaments anymore. I'm more interested in just having fun with friends when I'm playing. But I always wonder about that, like especially when I'm running a tournament coming up, where guys want to break away and just play for a 3-man division. And my old buddy Joel Kelly from down in Austin, he told me, he goes, a win's a win. He goes, if I can play a division where I can get a win easier, then I'm going to go to that division. And I'm just like,
yeah.
but that's not really that's not exactly the right attitude, I mean,
Yeah, to me, I mean, to each their own, right? Like I think that
obviously, yeah.
The bigger issue for me is the financial side of it. And I wish that the PDGA or TDs in general would just add the majority of the money to the Open side and not do this 50-50 split. Like if there's 20 Open and 20 Masters, the added cash is cut down the middle. To me personally, I would rather them put the majority of the money to the MPO, put a little bit to Masters. They've paved the way. Like I totally respect that as well. But again, I would like to see 5th place in MPO win the same as 1st place in Masters, right? Like if you get 4th place in Open, you win. It's hard when you go to a tournament. I mean, there's been a couple of tournaments where I've probably lost over $1,000 by playing MPO because I think my pride's in the way, right? And I've probably lost over $1,000 or more just because I got 4th or 5th in Open. And not saying I would have won for sure, but the score wise shows that I would have won. Granted, there's a lot of stuff that could happen before that, but to me, I just feel like you make that financial decision going, did I have $1,000 more fun playing with the Open guys versus playing with the Masters guys? I don't know. That's where I struggle. So I think if you incentivize people to play Open based on the financial side of it and put more of that added cash in there, you'll get the best players playing with the best players, Yeah. Like I think back when we were younger and Brad Hambrick used to go and smash every single Masters tournament because he was a guaranteed win and he could guarantee himself $800 to $1,000 versus having to go and play against Avery and Cam Todd and Ron Russell and all. Like he would just sit in 40s and just smoke them, So, but I think if you had changed the financial side of it and put all that money into Open and said 1st place in Masters is 500 or 600, he might not have done that. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of merit to that, and I think that beyond that, that you're a rare bird in that sense that most of the guys that you're competing with, if you are playing masters, are going to come to a person like myself as a tournament director and go, dude, why are you doing that? Why? I mean, we're people too. I mean, we deserve as much as they do. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, I'm not saying that you don't, but we're looking at the big picture here. We're not just looking at the part of the picture that you're in. And, you know, you got to be able to look at that too and roll with it. So,
Yeah, when
so
the added cash is divided evenly, to me, like it's almost crazy to play MPO when if I can play math, you know. So
Totally. Yeah.
it's a weird dynamic that we're in right now.
Right, you make a really good point about that, and it's interesting you being 46 and pushing for the cash to be, because a lot of guys our age, your age, you're younger than us, but that enter the Masters, they're like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to be in protected age division and give me as much
and
money
I
as I
should
can
get the
make.
same cut. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I may not have the popular opinion on that, but I mean, I played in the Pittsburgh, the PFDO one year, and it was a national tour, and I think that was one of my first Masters tournaments. And I didn't even know how the payout was going to be broken down, but I was like, I'm just going to give it a try. And I think first place was around like 16 or 1800. It was insane, and I was like, I felt terrible, right? And I looked at my scores, and I would have gotten like 13th in MPO and won like $200 or $300. You know, and I was like, I just didn't feel right. But I went home happy. I mean, but I didn't feel like it was the right thing, you know. So it's just one of those things where I think it would just, I don't know. I know I beat the horse into the ground. So
No, it's all right. No, it's not, that's, I mean, that's totally, I mean, honestly, we might have not have said this enough, but one of the primary reasons why we're doing this show is to tell stories that people don't know. And, you know, obviously a lot of the younger kids don't know most of the stories we're telling, but I like to hear, I like to hear what you've got to say. And so does Paul. I mean, that's just part of what we're doing. So a big part of it at that. So a couple quick more things, and then I'm going to throw it over to Paul for your origin story. But you were elected to Ohio State Disc Golf Hall of Fame in 2018. Your motto was elevate the image.
that's the
And
Ohio State.
that's like it's really hard to understand. I mean, to see like people your age in the Hall of Fame to some degree, because like I always think about like, well, these guys are still playing. And I understand that we're different in that sense, but still pretty cool, you know, cool to see that at all, without a doubt. And then you've been on Discraft since 98, making you the longest standing sponsored active player with wait a minute, with deference to Mike Randolph and Dan Gilly, other than the Jenkins clan or the Saki Bomb man. There's no one else in Ohio who stands out as much as you do. That was written by B.
Yes, that's true. But it does bear witness that your insistence on continuing to play open division, and you know what you just said about wishing that the payouts were structured a little differently. You are still one of the original Discraft team members. You're out there delivering the mail. You're like Bob Dylan. You're keeping up your end of the bargain, and you're doing it amazingly. You're still out there showing the kids what's up, and you know, with deference to those other guys that Mace mentioned, Dan Gilly, we had Dan on the show earlier. He only plays, he gets to play at a couple of events. And, you know, Mike Randolph obviously was on the team earlier than you, and kind of a bigger star earlier, but, you know, life intervenes, it gets in the way, and you're still out there and you're playing 20 plus events a year. So
yeah,
that's incredible to you.
yeah. Well, big support. I mean, my wife is super cool. She's always been super supportive since the time I met her. I was already playing. And she's always been
It's been way too long since I ran into her too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has been a long time. You have to get back out this way, or we have to get her down to Rock Hill one of these years again. But I mean, that's a big portion of it, right? Like we chose not to have kids, which makes it a lot easier. I think you start bringing kids into the equation and you start sacrificing every weekend and time, like that's, you know, grounds for either a really rough marriage or not playing a lot of long weekends, right? And
sure.
As these events continue to go 3-day and even some 4-day, you know, it's harder and harder to get away for that long. So yeah, I mean, it's just I love to compete. Like I hate to practice. That's probably one of my biggest downfalls is as I get older, I play less and less. And if I'm not playing some sort of competitive round, I almost just like to go out to the field or to go out to the course and play. It's just so boring for me because I just like to compete. So Yeah, so I love it. I mean, I can't get away from it. I don't know what I would do without it, honestly. I mean, that's why I'm like thankful that my body has held up for the most part. I did have, minor knee surgery where I had some scoped out some torn meniscus stuff about 6 or 8 years ago. But other than that, I've been super fortunate, knock on wood. But I don't know where I'd be, man. I really don't.
Well,
What?
let's like May said, let's take you back when one of our features is we want to talk about the origin story, and we're always interested in back in the day. And one of the purposes for Mason and I to start the show was, as disc golf is expanding in the universe, there's a lot of people coming new to the game that have no idea what came before, and there are very few official records. You can go on some internet wayback machines and look at archives and see old print editions of Disc Golf Journal, or even a Disc Golf World News, Disc Golf World. But the people who formed those, like, that's just sterile text. The people who made those things happen, sadly, we're starting to get older, and some of us are moving on, and so we want to preserve the stories. And so this is one of the reasons why we want to have you on. You've been a central figure, certainly in Ohio, certainly in the Can-Am series. And so my interest in this is obviously coming from the Canadian perspective, but also from the story perspective. So let's just bring you back. You say you found out about disc golf when you were 12. So this is 1989, back in the day. Do you remember the first golf disc that you threw?
Really don't. I think it was either was a rock out in '89. It was
I
either a
believe so, yeah.
rock or
Maybe a classic rock even at that point.
yeah. I want to say it was probably a rock or some. So we played at this little small course called Blendon Woods. It was a very short baby course, and they had a little booth with some discs and a file cabinet, and they would sit them out.
Isn't
And
it still there?
it's still there, but
I
it's not
played
like
it
a data.
once.
Yeah,
I
it's still
played with Jerry and Marie one time.
yeah, still a great course. Fun course, great beginner course. But we would just go there and just buy any random disc. Like, let's try that one, and just keep buying. We had no clue what they did. There was no such thing as like flight numbers or any of that.
Right.
But I think like I remember a rock and a stealth and some discs like that. But ABRs and rocks pretty much, I think, when we first started. And then the dimple, like there was all these like weird ones that would come out as we were playing. So
What was the first one that you like when you started like getting hooked by the game, and you were like, oh, this is a disc. This is my jam right here. What was your first
it was
go-to?
probably the rock, because we played the course so much, and I had multiple aces on this one, like old white rock that just we would always write ace on it. And every hole is like under 200 feet. So you would get an ace like every week, it seemed like. So you had, thousand aces on it. But probably a rock was the first thing before I started really throwing discraft, which was kind of a funny story how that all happened. So
Let's get to that, because that's definitely part of the whole
Yeah.
thing. But I'm sorry, I don't want to take too much time focusing on this, but I'm really interested in like, because you're such an icon. Okay, so what was the disc golf world was like when you started? Who were your heroes? Were like when you're a young starry-eyed teenager just starting to be courted by the game?
yeah.
I mean, Ohio was chock full of some superstar talent.
Yeah, so we had, Brent Hambrick obviously was kind of our local pro. Dan Busick and Kevin Stewart, and there was a core group of guys that were local. Steve Wisecup was close by. But when we first got into it in like 91, 92, was when we really started to understand that there was more than just going to the park and throwing one disc and seeing like people carrying bags like a bunch of weirdos. That was when Brent was like running this tournament, right? This Columbus Open. And we were like, wow. And then it's the Can-Am event, and all these people are coming from all over the United States and Canada. And we were like, this is really like a big thing, and so I think that was the first time that my brother and I and my dad were all kind of spotting and doing different things to help out. And I remember like spotting on hole one and seeing like Mike Sullivan and Steve Wisecup and Crazy John and all these people coming through. And it was just like, I think that is the feeling that these kids now feel when they see Ricky and Eagle and Paul Macbeth. It's like the same feeling of like, these guys aren't normal. Like they're just like,
where did they come from?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
did they get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And so like that was 91 or 92. And I think I don't even know if we were playing tournaments. I guess I was just thinking I probably played a tournament in the early 90s, but like 91, 92, we really weren't doing anything, right? So we were kind of watching this kind of evolve. But back then there was like maybe 3 or 4 tournaments within a 3-hour radius of you all year. So you might get to play a few things. There was no such thing as playing a tournament every weekend. That's laughable.
Or having conflicts like we have now.
Yeah, no such thing, right? Your conflict was, do you want to do it in May or do you want to do it in June or July?
Are you going to be able to do this? Are you going to be able to go to that event? And
Right. So yeah, I mean that point when I was a kid, spotting and seeing them come through and watching them just throw a disc like I didn't think was possible, and rollers and things like that was. And then Crazy John throwing the shot off the dam.
Wait, were you there at Columbus when that happened?
Oh yeah, we were standing right behind it. My dad's in the back. I think of the video screaming like, oh, like you can hear it on the video. It's pretty. It's
nice.
Were you down by the basket, or were you
down right by the basket? Yeah.
Oh my God. So just to put it in perspective, if anybody's out there not knowing what the shot that we're talking about, it was the Columbus Open Final Four.
It's on YouTube. You can find it. If you type in 1991 or 19, I think it's 91 or 92. I forget, 92 maybe.
Columbus Open.
Columbus Open.
I've seen that video. And I've actually seen him after that out there. Maybe I went to the second, the third, and the fourth, second through seventh of the Brent Hambricks, and he went to one of them at least. And I remember him making the skins and throwing that shot again, and the trees are even taller.
Yeah, he couldn't make the shot. But I mean, for you to be on site, that must have been.
It changed my world. Yeah, it changed my world. I was like, I want to do that. Yeah, that was. When you see something like that as a kid, you're like, you hear the stories of the Gannon Burr and all these other people that see something, they're like, I want to be number one. I don't know that I ever thought that, but I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to throw that shot, So it was, I think that kind of changed our perspective on, wow, this is pretty wild.
And what's fascinating, the circumstances of your timing happened to coincide with what they call the big Can-Am years, the years that Dwayne Utek was involved in promoting and distributing a lot of money. And so we had, in Columbus for the Columbus Open, you had Steve Valencia, you had the Lissamans, you had Ginley out there, Bomba Rico, the big guys from Toronto.
And the payouts were as big there as they, like in 1992, as they were in 2007. The payouts were massive back then.
It was just that case of infusing a lot of cash because you think it's going to go explode, and then it doesn't, and the money runs out and you walk away. And so if you go back and you look at the PDJ stats and you look at, say, Columbus Open and the Toronto Island Open 92 and then 93, it's like a tenfold drop in terms of payout. First base was like $1,000 in 92, $100 in 91 or 93. But it's great that you were able to see these guys, because that all of a sudden showed you, my God, this is a whole real world out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Now you did start. I did some scrolling through your PDJ record. Your first PDJ tournament was 1992 at the 13th annual Ohio State Championships, which you played many, many, many times. You played in 1992. Your first ever was a junior. In 93, you played as an M1 and you won. And 94, you came out as an open. So it didn't take you too long to rocket right into the open field. And I just have to mention, for the Can-Am heads out there that eventually are watching, longtime Rochester fixture of the Can-Am Tour, Bobby Jones, in the 14th annual 1993 Ohio State Championships, you, Brad Schick, beat Bobby Jones by 48 strokes over 4 rounds.
Yeah, take that, Bobby Jones. He probably was still just as lucky then as he is now, too.
Oh, and he would be instantly with the yapping on the defense and all this. So you don't even know what happened.
Right.
But
then when you think about back then versus now, there were 2 divisions. It was AM1, AM2, and Open. And I don't even remember when we first started if there was Masters. There may have been, but AM2 was basically the lower division, and it was like people who didn't really know what they were doing at all. And then AM1 was, you're pretty good, and then you just moved up, right? You'd win 1 or 2 tournaments, and you were, I don't know if pressured or peer pressured was the right word, but it's
sure it was peer pressure.
So
that's what it was around here.
Yeah,
I
But
participated in plenty of that.
I tell the AM players here all the time, not to sound like the old guy, but they're really spoiled now. They get the funny money to go and buy any discs they want. They get the payouts are massive, and they can now take that money, buy what they want, and resell it and make more sometimes than these open players that are at the bottom of the barrel or just borderline cash in. And so back then it was like you paid a third of the field. And when you were an AM player, you would get a bag of leftover discs that you couldn't get rid of as a PD and go, here's your first place prize. And you'd be lucky if you found one or two of those. So I think like back then it was just, you just moved up. Or like, I don't want any more.
It was definitely different back then for sure. I remember I don't think I really don't even know how many tournaments I've run, but I've never done a payout. In fact, I've kind of rebelled against guys that were like, oh no, we're just gonna stack this up. I was like, no, we're not. We're going to give them a dollar amount and they can pick whatever they want. Well, what about your old crap? Well, the old crap, you got to figure out how to get rid of that. You can't just
back in the day, that was the norm. You just gotta,
it was
a Walmart bag, plastic bag full of stuff.
Lightning discs.
And it was
thank you bag.
You get what you get.
Through.
Yeah, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Here's your 13 lightning discs.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like the Rick Rothstein, Kansas City wide open school of tournament directing right there. And it was a good model. It did, steal from the AMs to give to the pros. I believe that's the reverse Robin Hood.
Actually, I think that was exactly his motto.
So just to complete this little tour of your ascent into prohood, you got your first cash on your 4th year ever playing disc golf in PDGA. You got a 4th place and $25 at the Three Rivers Open. And your first Worlds ever was your Pro Worlds. You didn't even go to an AM World. You didn't even go to the Cincinnati AM Worlds.
I don't even think I knew about it, sadly. Like that's how stupid we were about it. Like I remember hearing about it, and that's where a lot of my friends like Jim Stilgenbauer and Dave
Stilgenrocker. I think that's why I met him the first time.
Yeah, all of these guys like Dave was down there. I met Dave a few years later. And he was like down in the Cincinnati Worlds with Jim and all of my friends, and I'm like, I didn't even know about it. But
that's still one of the best tournaments I ever went to. I mean, it was so many good times and so many people. Like I met the Drummond brothers there. I met John Pacuna there. I met so many people at that tournament. That was such a good time and such a well-run event. And so all right, so let's segue into this. You already touched on the Brent just a little bit, but I got the privilege of meeting Brent in Norman at the Norman Pro-Am one of the years around the similar time frame you were talking about with the when the Can-Am stuff was going on. And Brent was out, I guess, on tour. This was pre-cancer. And I think that he may have been traveling with Mike Randolph, but I'm not 100% about that. But Randolph was there too. And Randolph actually introduced me to Brent. And then a few years later, I went and played the Edgewood in '96 because after '95 I was like, I'm going back to Cincinnati every chance I get, and so I played like the remaining Edgewoods. And in '96 he had cancer and he was bald, and I played around with him at Rapid Run, and I'll never forget it. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah,
and he was amazing.
He was.
So, talk a little bit more about Brent.
Yeah, I mean, he, looking back at what he was going through, I mean, so to start out, like the way he evolved disc golf in Central Ohio, like there were big tournaments, but not anything like there were today. But his mission and his goal was to make this massive, huge, touring tournament where all these players were coming. And he actually, I mean, this is all word of mouth that I've heard and I think he even told me this, before the Columbus Open was as big as it was, he would go around to all the big tournaments, Boylan, the Boylan Farms and all those, and take notes on everything they were doing, what was working well, what didn't work well at all these big tournaments, and bring all that stuff back. And that is what his focus was on. And then running that tournament. Hey, get out of here.
There's the boss.
It's actually my niece. I'm on a Zoom, baby. You gotta go. Sorry, buddies. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Tell your dad I said hi.
That's actually my sister-in-law.
Oh, wrong side of the family. Never mind.
Anyways, she just got told to come up here to interrupt us, I guess. So back to Brent, he was doing all of this stuff to make this tournament better, and it did grow and grow and grow. And then when his leukemia came back in, I guess it was 96, right? When he started
That's when I played with him.
again. He would go to chemo and do all of these things and try to, fight this off, and then come out, a day after the chemo, throwing up on the course, and then kick your ass,
Yeah.
it was amazing. And then and then in the 96 Worlds was that South Bend, right?
Yep.
He was there, and he was in like the top 10 at one point, and really sick then too, I believe. And then I think at some point in 97, they couldn't do chemo anymore, right? And so when I was up and coming in 94, 95, that's when I graduated high school in 95. He would I'd get out of school and he'd be like, hey, we're going to Mississippi Open. We're going to Fort Wayne. We're going to Three Rivers. Like, do you want to go? And I didn't have anything. I was like, yeah, and I would just jump in the car with him and we would go there. Hey, we're going to,
Wow.
to Great Lakes Open. You want to go? And just jump in the car with him and go. And he and Dan Busick took me down to Raleigh for the first time to play the Dogwood Crosstown.
Wow,
that was amazing. I just have so many memories of going to different tournaments with him and just watching everyone gravitate toward him because of who he was, and they knew him, and he was a shithead. He was a cocky, whatever, but he was a great guy and everybody loved him and knew him. And so just being able to kind of, follow him around and learn from him and, get some good introductions and things were great. But yeah, just a great guy, gone way too soon. I think back, and when I was a kid, I was thinking he was older, right? He's an older guy. But then when you're 17 or 18, you think somebody that's in their 30s is older. Now I'm looking at it going, I'm going to be 40. I think he passed away at 35, which is just,
he wasn't old at all. I mean,
yeah. So most of the players anywhere local around here have no clue who he was. There's, still some people that play that know Brent or knew of him, but now it's just the name of the tournament and the course but they didn't know him. So, yeah, so just terrific guy.
Yeah, that was, that round I played with him at Rapid Run, I vividly remember him only shooting 2 under. And, obviously a player like him in his prime would have probably shot double digits. And I just remember watching, and just he dug as deep as he could to get that 52. You know what I mean? We're talking about an easy temporary course. Anybody that's played any of those events in Central and Cincinnati that ever played Rapid Run knows what I'm talking about. Not a bad course at all, but guys with skills shred that course. Mm-hmm. And so just watching that and just listening to him, hearing the things that he told me, and then later on, fast forward, I didn't make the first one. I didn't even know about it, but I probably would have if I had known about it. But I went to the second and like I said, second through the 7th, or maybe the second through the 10th. But one of the things that one of my favorite memories of all time is standing on Chuck Custer's back porch with Gordon Holton drinking champagne out of his trophy, the second year. And that was just amazing too,
Yeah. Yeah. Gordon's another one gone too soon, man.
Way too soon.
Chuck doesn't play a lot that much anymore, but I see Chuck every once in a while, but he's still around. He's got a great little private course on his property and always has people over playing there. So there's a lot of history in Columbus.
I've had a lot of good times there, that's for sure. Lots and lots.
That first one, the first memorial, I mean, you've talked about Brent the man, the obviously gone too soon, huge personality, cast a giant shadow. I met him when he was alive. I remember when he was driving. Sorry, what was the red car that he was the red convertible he was driving again?
Yeah, I think it's
E28. Yeah,
I remember him pulling up in that, and I'm
perfect car for him.
Who is this superstar? My God! But obviously, 97, he's gone, and Team Columbus, the higher flyers, they want to get together and honor him in some way. And so is born one of the most legendary tournaments on the tour consistently, but 97 was that first one. And I was lucky enough to go down, and I remember writing, I can't find, if someone out there with the greater and more impeccable internet research skills can find the article in the Disc Golf Journal, but I wrote a little article about that inaugural event. And talk to us about the planning, the execution about that first, because it was a one-day event, the first one.
Yeah, I think it was put together really quickly because typically the tournament's done in the summer. And Brent passed away, I want to say in late July or August, if I remember correctly. And that tournament happened.
Like
It must have
October.
been in the fall, yeah, like September, October. And I'm not sure who planned it or who even ran it. My memory's kind of failing. I want to say it
I think it was Dan Busek.
was it Dan? It may have been Dan. Yeah, it makes sense. So Dan and Dennis Janney and the guys were the best friends with Brent, and then Chuck Custer and Fred Salas and a lot of the old timers that.
God, what a great roster you just listed off, man. I like
Yeah,
all those guys.
yeah.
I miss
Well,
all
I think
those guys.
Bob Vanderboss, all these guys all came
Bob
in,
B,
and
yeah,
they are the ones who got the Brent tree down on hole 8, and they
that tree's got to be giant now, huh?
yeah, it's massive and it's in great shape. It's beautiful every year. So yeah, they planned that. So I think we played one round and then we went down there for a little ceremony around the tree, and his mom and dad and folks were there and did some things around the tree for his all the cards that he got, and they grinded him up, put him in the tree with some of his ashes. It was pretty emotional at lunch, but I think it was really cool. And then that kind of set the stage for that event. And then, each year it's just kind of grown, and we've used the tournament to raise funds for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And I think to date, I don't know the number. I'm sad that I don't remember it, but I want to say it's like $140,000 or $50,000 that we've raised. Last year alone, I
That's
think we
awesome.
raised like 25,000.
Wow.
Rocky Russell has been a massive supporter for the last 4 or 5 years. Every year he seems to up his ante. We're always like blown. I think last year he gave like, I want to say it was like $5,000. I don't even know if I should be sharing that, but he every year.
Too late.
Yeah, I know. I hope that's right.
I miss
And
that guy too.
yeah, we've had a lot of support and a lot of great people, and the charity, they always send their staff out to help with spotting and stuff, and the tournament players have now know them by name. It's like Kim is on hole 1, and Marianne is on
That's
hole
awesome.
15. Yeah, like it's
Really cool.
pretty cool that every year, I mean, they look forward to it as much as some of the players. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and we've had a lot of passing the torch to different people to run the tournament, and we have a great staff now. And we've this year I think the open or the AM side's like 288 players. They just keep adding courses because
It's crazy, man.
high. So it's been exciting. So
Well, I think any time that we're able to memorialize our very dear friends and have some kind of, I mean, there's lots of memorial tournaments out there, and I did make a reference in your intro. You seem to gravitate towards those memorial style events.
there's just a lot of them, I think. I don't know what's going
There's a
on.
lot of them, but you particularly at the Charlie Ventnor, the Tim Stilinski, the Brent Hambrick, the Gordon Holton, your
Yeah.
multiple award winners. I'm going to pass this over to Mace, but we want to ask you about the big wins in your career. Maybe we can start first. Your first big win, which happened
My
to
first
be
win ever.
your first win as a pro, but
Yeah.
that happened to be my very, very first ever tournament that I ran on the Toronto Island Open. I don't know what it was called before. It could have been called the Toronto Island Open. I feel like I
think that's what it was, because I had the shirt that said TIO on it.
yeah. And so that year I had gotten little clipboards. Do you remember the clipboards for scorecards? And the winner of the last round got to keep the scorecard. I had to buy so many up front that lasted a couple of years of TIOs. But that was your first big win, your first time to Canada, your first big win. That set the stage, and Mace, take it away. Where do we go from there with the big wins?
Well, obviously that's a big one, and this one probably is maybe one of your favorites. But the 2008 Brent Hambrick Memorial, you beat 51 other players, including Macbeth, Bellberg, Barry Schultz, and Paul Ulibarri, and that's got to be something that really meant a lot to you, I'm sure.
For the record, I feel like Macbeth was like 14 years old and probably had only played pro for a year, but it's probably
take the W, dude, because
Yeah,
I mean, like, those didn't
probably the
happen
last
very
time.
much after that.
Yeah, it's probably the last time I ever beat him. But yeah, that one meant a lot because the year before, I think the year before, in 2007, I got second, and I think I lost on the last hole to Nate Doss. And so to come back, and then, like, that's one of those where like as a kid, you grow up, you're like, I'm gonna win this one of these times. I'm gonna win this, and like you get that close, and then like in your brain, you're going, that was probably my one chance. Like these guys are only gonna get better. So to come back the next year and actually get over the hurdle, yeah, that one meant a lot. That was a good one.
That's and like Barry Schultz. I remember several times Barry just hammering putts in the wind out there, and like
Yeah.
there was a couple. I don't remember what the whole win-loss record went at that event, but I remember several times because like we do the skins thing in the gallery. Like when there's a skins match, then you find 3 other friends and you start going, throwing down your dollar for every hole and stuff. And like I picked up some skins on that, just knowing that Barry was. They're like, oh, he's not gonna make this putt, and I'm like, you're wrong. I'll take Barry. Man, just so many great memories. Like another one too. Well, and we don't have to dwell on this right now because we're talking about your wins, but I see Kevin Stewart still driving that same piece of shit Nissan now, dude. How is that not falling apart? I mean, like,
I think it has like 300,000 miles. I don't know.
I bet it's got
don't even know.
500,000 miles on it, man.
I don't know if those pictures are even real. I think he just reposts the same picture 10 years later.
Well, and that's possible too. But let's get back to your wins. I couldn't forget. I didn't want to forget to mention that because you mentioned him earlier. So you got a win at the Timmel, in 11 and in 13, and beat 22 players one year and 14 the other. Avery was one of them both times
by 4 strokes each time.
by 4
Really?
strokes. There you go. See.
Now,
Yeah,
the one thing
Avery
about
was there, and I feel like Ulibarri was there once too. Like I think, but I don't think I didn't win that year. I don't remember. But then Marty got really good, and Marty started smoking everyone, and I just quit going because I don't like to lose the Marty.
But 2013, you beat Marty by 15 strokes. So let the record show. Oh, there, okay.
Got it. And duly noted forever.
Well, so then there's 2018 Canadian Open, and didn't you win 2 Zelinskis? I don't know how that didn't
Well,
make the
that
list.
we're working that into a separate because there's a
Okay.
showcase.
All right, sorry.
Your master section
overstepped.
deserves its own showcase.
So this obviously says that I didn't read the whole script yet. So, but anyway.
So just to tail on what you're saying there, one of the things that we started with our last guest, Jennifer Allen, was we were looking at her win percentage. And so we looked at, you've got 629 in PDGA events played, the 183 wins gives you a 29% overall winning percentage. If you remove just the AM wins and tournaments, you have 619 PDGA Pro overall combined pro events played, 179 wins, giving you again a 29% winning percentage.
Super consistent.
For MPO, just MPO, you've got 608 events played with 169 events, with a little dip down to 28%. However, and we're gonna let Mace.
This is a good one here.
You have 11 MP40 events, and you've won 10 of them. Your non-win was a 5th place at the Masters Worlds. That gives you a 91% winning percentage in the Masters division. I know already you've disdained it. Okay, we've accepted that, but you are not winning at like Bucktooth Junction or in CX tier events. You're winning on the biggest stage possible in these Masters events. So when the dark horse predictions come in, I say I'm putting my money on this guy right here when if he ever steps in either to a memorial event or to a Masters tournament. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, those are some cool stats. The Masters thing, that's where I struggle is trying to balance that out, but I still in my brain want to play MPO. Like that's where I struggle. But again, this year I've played probably 5 or so events and I've not played well. I've been struggling to even shoot 1,000 rated. Just some of it weather, some of it just rust. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like when I'm playing well, I can still compete. As I get further along in the year, that's typically when I start playing the A tiers and national tours and the Masters events and things like that. So I'm more polished and playing better. But I don't know. It's
Mace, you just drew on this about the 2 Zelinskis. Maybe you can bring this in here.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit lost. I kind of got lost there, but
I'm sharing here a photo. This is you at one of the Zelinskis. Do you remember which Zelinsky this is?
Yeah, that was 21. So I won in 21 and 22. And that was the final round there, I think. And Dave was Heavy D was caddying for me that final
Oh, look
round.
at that. I didn't even see him there.
Oh yeah, that's my shadow right there.
Right there.
Yeah, he
Right.
was caddying for me, kind of keeping me calm and laughing because Feldberg and Jeff Bennett and those guys were all like Feldberg and I were kind of going back and forth the whole time. And then it kind of came down to the last hole there. And then last year was in the Quad Cities. And that one was again a huge battle where Dutch Napier was absolutely smoking everyone. And then he kind of had a really rough round. It was kind of hard to watch. And then just kind of fell off completely and ended up going from first. I mean, he was winning the entire week, beating all of us by a handful of strokes, and then kind of fell off that last round. So it was kind of tough.
Now, what is that disc that you're about to sidearm there?
That is a Jawbreaker Buzz OS.
Did you file the good shot? Was that did you slick it up there?
I feel like that might have been a good shot, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Mace, I think I jumped in on your Masters win there. I think I confused you that way. So
That's all right. I'm
Why
easily
don't-
confused at times.
why don't we, since we're sharing our screen, you can ask him about this photo.
Yeah, well, I know that's hole 3 at USCGC, but you obviously must have parked that one, or did you?
I think that was like my second round or third round when I actually birdied the hole. I was out of bounds every single time playing that hole. And that might have been the year they played that as hole 1, Mace. That was like, do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. When we had the hospitality area over there on the other side of
Yes.
the road where 2 was.
Yes,
Okay.
I think that was the year they did that, but I kept starting out the round with an OB, and
It actually even looks like that might say hole 1 on that T sign, although it's a little bit blurry.
I think it was because it was always just kind of that nerve-wracking shot, that very first one. But
Man, I forgot all about that being hole 1.
yeah,
Man,
I
that's
put it
one
into
of
the,
those things, like, it's 25 years this year. Y'all really ought to show up, but I mean, like, we're gonna do some broadcasts from there and everything, but like, man, there's just so many memories from that place. And like, one of my favorites was when I recently, like in the last 5 years, where I hadn't seen you in forever and you qualified, and I came over to the players area and there you were practicing putting, and I walk up and gave you a big old hug, and it's just, I was like, I don't miss playing tournaments, but man, I miss the people that I saw every year when I toured, just so many regulars, like, oh yeah, we're gonna see so and so, so and so, and so and so this weekend,
Yeah.
and like a few years back, when KJ Nybo and Stevie tied for the win at Pro Master, or at Masters, in the Masters division at the Memorial. One of my buddies from high school came out, and I believe that was maybe the year after I made the trophies the first time there, but it might have been the first time. But I told him, I go, and I really feel this way. He's like, man, I used to be 80-20, now I'm 20-80. And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, well, I used to know where like 80% of these people, who they were and where they're from. And now, like, I'm barely scratching 20%, and it's like, I can look at names and know that they're familiar when I'm looking at scores. And sometimes now I'm getting more familiar with these young guys, but there's been plenty of times where I was like, man, I don't even know who to ask who that person is, like, there's no friends. I have no friends here. What's going on?
I'm the same way. I used to think of myself as not being the old guy, but I played the other day in a tournament like 2 weeks ago, and there was a kid that was 15 on my card, a kid that was 16, and a kid that was 22. And I think they all whipped my ass too. But I mean, they're so good and they throw so far. And it's like, to think that, I was joking with them. I'm like, all 3 of you barely add up to my age. I was like, you better beat me, you punk kids.
You know what? If you take a look at the video of you and you throw, yeah, you're self-admitted, you're not crushing the disc, like, especially like some of these monsters out there. But your course management, your course savvy, your wisdom with the discs, and your ability to throw the shot is virtually unmatched. That's why you're playing so well. The only problem is you're playing against these 15, 16, 22-year-olds who are throwing 300 feet further than you.
The game has changed completely. I mean, a lot of the courses now, I mean, that's why I would really have no interest in playing some of these, ball golf course style, where if you don't throw it 550 or 600, and like, I don't honestly know if I'll ever even go back to D-Glow anymore, because the toboggan, if you can't throw 450 or 500, you almost can't get birdies anymore. Like it's just
Man, you know,
not.
I was wondering about that, and that's definitely one of my all-time favorites. But you know, I watched the coverage the last couple of years, and I'm just like going, man, you know, like
You have to give
I wish I had 2/3 of that back in the day, you know.
right.
And
Yeah, the
it's
game has changed, but they have to keep evolving. I mean, you watch these kids throwing further and further, and it's like, how hard do you make the course? You watch Isaac Robinson today, just absolutely lacing these lines through the woods at 450 feet, which on the best drive of my life, I'd love to throw 450. And he's doing it through these tight wooded shots where if one little tree kicks you 100 feet into the woods, like, I mean, it's just another level of skill and accuracy and disc control and everything, which is fun to watch. Like I can't get enough of it. Like I'll watch it all day. Yeah, I just love it.
yeah, and
Well,
it's well, you know, like Isaac, the Robinson boys are from there, so I mean, they should be able to lace those woods and stuff like that too. And I think that's a huge advantage. I mean, I was just out at Zebo's today because I've got the event next weekend, and there's a lot of players around here that don't want to come and play that event because they don't want that ass whooping. And I've known that for, this is the 22nd year that we've had the event. This course went in like 99, and I've known that from the very beginning. But there's things out there because of going to places like that. When I traveled, I specifically included different things on that course because we don't have wooded courses. We don't
Right.
have wooded pieces of land that are offered to us for any of those type of possibilities in this area. And so, when I came back, I was looking for anything. I was looking for shelters with poles that you could throw between and learn how to throw it that way. After I went to Great Lakes Open the first time and threw like hole 17 on the original, with that tree right off the front of that tee pad, and you're throwing down that hallway, and like I was like, how am I supposed to learn how to throw this? I mean, because there's no golf like at the time, there was no golf like that in Texas. None. And so that was a total shock to my system. And now, these guys, the shots. I mean, I've had a couple of really good players in the last 4 or 5 years working for me. And, the things that I've learned from them, like one of the things I've heard is like, those guys on tour don't want to play those ball golf courses anymore either. I mean, it's not all of them, but a lot of them
Good
are
for
over.
spectators, but other than that, it just gets kind of redundant and kind of,
It's a big distance contest.
Yeah.
So in keeping up with the Joneses, with the kids, with the young ones, one thing they should be aware of and should be humble about is your long-standing association with this craft. One of, like we referenced earlier, one of the longest standing, still remaining active pro tour players. Talk to us about how that all started back in '98 with you getting hooked up with this craft.
Yeah, I believe so I was traveling a little bit in the summer after work and stuff with Ben Bott, and I were both throwing primarily discraft. So funny enough, I actually at like the 92, or when the Cyclone came out, I want to say it was 91 or 92, somewhere around there, they gave the Cyclone out in the players pack, and everyone was like, what is this garbage? And I was a kid and I was like, I'll take it. So I have all these like first run Columbus
Sticker
Open
Cyclones.
Yeah, like the pre-patent Cyclones. And I had all of these. And so I started throwing them. And that is really what kind of changed the game as far as the plastic not being like, and it was DX plastic, that Cyclone plastic, it would last for a lot longer and those sorts of things. And so I started
And that definitely gave discraft a foot in the door on the popularity side of things too. I mean, like, I'm sure they're still shot up with that disc.
Yeah, so like between that and the magnet, so I started throwing a lot of discraft anyhow. And then Scott Stokely was kind of like the team captain, if you will, when there was really kind of a smaller team. It was like Mike Randolph and, those folks on the team. And then Stokely said, hey, I'm talking to Kenner and trying to do some kind of regional spots where we get the Timmy Gills and, different people in regional areas to help promote, not just people that are out on like the tour, if you call it that back then. So he got us on, and like, it's funny because like back then it was, here's a polo that's 3 sizes too big and like 10 discs, and we were jackpot, like, it was like
cotton.
Yeah, like the sponsorship, like you're sponsored, it was like, oh my god, but like as the years have progressed, they've done more and more and more, and then there's like, even 6-8 years ago, like, here is a physical contract, we're gonna have to start signing things to hold people accountable for what we think you're gonna do and those sorts of things. But like, once they signed Macbeth, I was kind of like, okay, that's been a good run. Like, The old guys are going to start falling off the roster. And I tell this to a lot of people, like they have actually done more for me in the past few years than they've ever done. Like they've treated me better, even with all the new additions to the team and the people. So I am like beyond, thrilled and just thankful and everything that all the things they've done for me. Because all these disc manufacturers are making great products, like you watch these
Sure.
commercials with the new disc manufacturers and it's like the quality of the plastic is so amazing. And it's like, which commercial I'm probably talking about. But it's like one of the new companies and it's like airs over and over. And it's funny to me because there's only so many ways to make a disc. And so for me, you start to think about how do these companies differentiate themselves? How do they treat their players? How do they treat, tournament directors and things like that? And what are they doing to give back? So, Discraft has always been a small group of kind of family. It's like close family. I mean, they will go to bat for you. So I've just been fortunate and lucky and humbled by, their support over the years. And like I said, every year they continue to up the game. And it's like, I know there's going to be a time when they're like, okay, old guy, we have to, start looking at these 15-year-olds that are beating your
Time
ass.
for the glue factory, old horse.
Right.
Well, listen, I know you just signed in 2022, you signed a 2-year extension. So 2024, you bring them that 91% winning percentage in Masters and say,
Yeah,
Scott Stokely, be damned.
Here's a little advice from your would-be agents. Here you
Despite
go.
Scott
Yeah,
Stokely
look at my win
calling-
percentage.
I'll just have them contact Mr. B.
There you go. I'm going to say, despite Stokely calling you borderline elderly, this kid, look at the face, look at the dimples are still there.
That's too
Now,
funny.
really, just kind of rapid fire. I want to throw out a few questions at you, just to get your mood on this. Favorite all time? What's your favorite disc all time?
Wow. Probably a FLX Buzz, like the Flex Buzz.
Okay, I mean, for me, it's the Rock. So there you go.
Yeah.
Now I know publicly I think it's even on the Discraft website, you've stated that Moraine State and Brent Hambrick Memorial are your favorite courses. Do you have a third that you want to add to that list?
Man, there's a bunch. Moraine is hard to beat. I really
Jerry
like
Gotch would be really happy to hear you say that. And
I know
he's in town right now, and he just retired. He's 3 weeks retired, believe it or not.
Give him a big hug for me. I miss that guy's
I
face.
will. Hopefully, I'll be seeing him here sometime this weekend for sure.
Yeah. The other one is the course I won the U.S. Masters at, and I don't know why I can't think of the one in Missouri, the real amazing course.
Harmony Hills.
Harmony Bends. Is it Harmony Bends?
Harmony Bends. Is that it?
Amazing. Yeah, John Houck designed, I think.
I like Columbia too. I mean, and George Smith's
Harmony
awesome.
Bends and Harmon Hill. There's Harmon Hills in Tennessee. That's where the Worlds was at, which that's another amazing one with the underground.
Tim Barr. Tim Barr course, right? Yeah, I haven't been there yet, but
it's hard to narrow it down
there
to two. Yeah, it's hard to narrow it down to two favorites. There's so many amazing courses.
Okay, so you're the favorite for you as a player, your favorite tournament to experience.
Gosh. And
you don't have to be a homer if you don't want it.
I'm probably like the USDGC, just the atmosphere. Like it's hard to match that. And I think they set the stage for all these pro tours. Like when I played Idlewild and some of these others, like it's starting to get that vibe where like people are paying to be there and like you feel like this is real, versus you're just out there playing with your friends. So I think anything in that atmosphere, these guys now, like they get it every weekend. They don't realize how lucky they are. I mean,
man, you're absolutely right about that.
Okay, favorite disc golf city to visit?
Wow.
Like if you didn't have a tournament, but you wanted to book a little disc golf vacation, you say, I'm going to Austin or I'm going to Sacramento or, well, who would ever want to go to Sacramento?
I would probably say down in like the Cincinnati area. There's so much around Cincinnati and Idlewild, like in that little area. There's just, they have 30, 40 courses now that are just.
Wow.
I may be making that number a little higher than it needs to be, but it's a lot. It's really a lot.
It doesn't take long with people like Fred and guys like that they're driven towards that to where it just keeps on getting more and more. Yeah. And man, still one of my all-time favorites is Mount Airy Forest. And
yeah,
it's been way, way too long since I've been to Cincinnati.
What's your excuse? Get back.
There you go.
Go, man.
Yeah. I put all the travel on hold, while I was just going and visiting my dad as he was dealing with cancer. And so this is my first year to get back at it. So Not sure if I'll make it through there this year, but if I don't, it'll be next year. Because again, like I said, man, there's just so many. I miss seeing everybody. I miss seeing running into people at least annually, yourself included, and lots of people in your neighborhood too. And
Yeah, for sure.
that's one of the great things about this sport is here's another reason to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a consistent message we've been talking about that's coming from everyone we've talked with so far that we've been doing the course of the show, is that it's the people, when you pare everything else away, that's the biggest draw is, hey, I might gonna see something I haven't seen in 20 years or 10 years or far too long.
Well, especially for people like us that have been around that long too, I mean, like just you can't go. I'm going to Masters Worlds this year for the first time, not as a player, but as just as a fan and a vendor, and I'm really looking forward to that because I know that, I mean, every time I turn around, I'm going to see somebody else that I hadn't seen in a long time, So I'm definitely going to do. Are you going to that? No.
I can't. No. Sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more rapid fire questions. Your favorite all-time player to compete against?
Ooh, this is a good one. That's a lot of people to choose from.
I mean, my local person.
Tyler.
I was gonna say Tyler and I probably have more second places to Tyler than anyone in the world. Like if I don't know what the Statmando guy would say, but I probably have, lost to him more than anyone, and I probably have 30 or 40 or 50 second places to that guy. So he's still out there balling too. Like he's out there doing kind of the Masters tour. He's like still got a lead right now at Music City Open. Like he's playing great.
Oh, so that's what's going on. I didn't realize. I saw something. I saw Kim and Ed Birdie posted they were getting ready for the MCO, and I was like, is this an old post? And I was like, no, it's from 2 hours ago. I was like, what's going on? And obviously I'm not up to speed, but
so now what about
you muted, Brad? You went mute.
Sorry, I was coughing.
All time from when you first started to now, your favorite player to watch either in the final or just if you were to be a spectator?
It's probably Simon. Like just so easy to root for, so humble. Sometimes you're like, is this even real?
Very entertaining. Yeah, very entertaining.
And just to watch him evolve. I remember the year that he came to Toronto Island with Avery, and he was like this shy, kind of awkward, introverted, just didn't really say anything. And I was like, this guy's not real friendly, but I think he was just so shy. And then just to see him evolve as a player and as a sportsman, and just like people gravitate toward him and his videos. I mean, I send a lot of the people to his videos that I do lessons with because he's just such a good teacher, and just the way he articulates it is just easy to understand. Like just a great all around.
And he is so articulate too, I mean, just like when he speaks and everything. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm really happy for him.
The fruits of a Euro education, that's for sure. Now, if you were to plan for the rare times that you might have the time and energy and money for this, within the continental United States or even in Canada, a non-disc golf city or state, what's your favorite place to go to when you're not playing, when you just want to unplug?
This is going to seem really like fixed, to say this, but Toronto. We haven't been since COVID. We used to come every year, my wife and I, my in-laws. We would, and Dennis Janney and his wife and kids came to one year, and we've just had I've brought a lot of people with me. Yeah, and just every year sitting there with Heavy D and Biggie and all the stories with Ron, and just I can go on for days in the stories of things I remember. Playing in the very first one with Maltbag and Guru and all these people, there's so many, and Kimmy, how good he is, there's just so many. Some of my best friends are up there, and just people I've met are just so kind, and it's just hard to beat, not even playing in the tournament, just being on the island. You're like, how is this a disc golf course? Yeah. How am I taking
and then riding the ferry, the whole experience? It's absolutely, it might be completely unique from that standpoint. You got to pay for parking. It's probably going to be $20. You better do it, or your vehicle's not going to be there when you get back. You better make you have to make the ferry, and you got to get some lunch before you get there for
Yeah.
lunch, not for right now. I mean, like it's that I don't know that I've ever experienced anything else like that from all the places I played. And
But then when the ferry lands you on the island, you still have like a mile walk.
yeah, and if you're
From
late,
there.
boy, you better start hot footing it.
You start seeing people running. Yeah, I mean that alone. I mean, I always joke. I say it's like the only tournament I could go to and win and still lose $2,000 coming home. Like it's just so expensive. So fun.
I know
Um,
we've got like the most expensive celebrated piece of real estate in downtown Toronto. It's the most populous city in all of Canada. The average square foot price of land out there is through the roof, and we decided to have a tournament right where the hotels are $600 a night at a cheap night.
right. But still, I mean,
That's a
to
good
go back
time.
there, we still want to go back. One of these years, it's always competing against another event, but we're gonna make it back.
Well, it looks like we've landed on the Labor Day weekend as the main Timmel weekend. So come back anytime and I'll sharpen my pens and roast you all 3 days proper. So last rapid fire question, and then we'll turn it over to Mace. Your favorite meal on the road? Whether it be a type of restaurant or a type of
Chipotle.
cuisine?
I eat Chipotle like 3 times a week. It's so bad. I know, like
But it's not. I mean, like you get everything you need in it, and it's power too. I
I
mean,
love it. Yeah, I love
That's a
Chipotle.
really- that's a
Everybody
good
makes fun of
meal.
me. Yeah, I love it though. It's easy, it's fairly cheap, and it's somewhat healthy as long as you don't get 10 pounds of cheese and sour cream on it. So
But that's where the flavor lives, though.
I know.
well, Brad, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and so does Paul. Obviously, I would like for you to tell your dad and your brother and Dan and Dennis hi for me, and anybody else that you might and Kevin for that matter. Anybody
Yeah.
else that you might run into, definitely send them my greetings. And at some point, they're just gonna go, "Oh, holy shit, what are you doing here?" And I'll be there at some point or whatever. But
We would love
yeah, I
that.
mean, I'm always look forward to seeing you, and hopefully you'll qualify again, and I'll see you at the championship, or we'll run into one another somewhere else. And thanks again, man.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys. Thanks for the invite. It's been a
Great
lot
to
of
see you.
fun, and I'm always rooting for you guys. So keep at it.
Yeah,
Well, we're rooting for you too, bro, for sure.
absolutely.
guys.
And I'm going to keep stats on your stats there. Keep Masters, keep that clean above a 90% winning
Yeah,
percentage.
shoot.
All right.
I guess I better stop playing, just leave it at 92. It's tough to beat that. So have a good weekend, guys. I appreciate you.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks
buddy.
again, Brad.
See ya.
Appreciate it.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Oh, Brad Schick, welcome to the Schick show. That was awesome. He's such a long time, awesome, wonderful guy. Really straight up, what you see.
I
There's
don't
no
think I have
guile.
an island memory without him being there. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was at all the ones that I was at, and just man, I mean, yeah, dude, like that's I mean, let me just let's give you a little hats off. That is definitely one of the most unique events, and obviously you got the ball rolling and other people are rolling it now, but the Toronto experience, I mean, I remember when I was rolling around with you and Dodgy before I ever made it up here, and all those things, like Dodge didn't stop talking about it. Bob Dodge never, like it was almost every day there was something about being in Toronto that he'd bring up, and I'm like, whatever, dude, shut up with this shit, and like people talk about, I tell the story and it's very, very true. I mean, there's, I don't know, maybe somewhere between 5 and 8 cities that I could go and live in because of the amount of time that I've spent there and the amount of friends that I've made. And Toronto is definitely on the top of the list. I mean, like I could say Kansas City, I could say the same about Charlotte or Rock Hill. I could say the same about to some degree the Ann Arbor area, but certainly the Twin Cities.
Right.
And I mean, and I could probably pull a couple more out of the hat that it wouldn't be that far off from that standpoint. But man, dude, the whole experience, getting going to the kitchen table and getting your sandwich and getting whatever you wanted to eat for right now, and and taking, and like you had to plan ahead for the whole day, and then you had to like go and find a place to hide it while you were playing and hope that nobody messed with it while you were gone.
What we had done for a couple of years that I was running the tournament there. That was just so incredible. That's not really part of the deal now, but there was really only one water taxi at the time, and we got to kind of know the captain of the water taxi. And when you've got the water taxi at your beck and call,
Dude, that was the move.
he dropped us off right at hole 4 at the bridge. We saved however much walking, all that schlepping.
Well, and
And
yeah, and I mean, both of us backed up our vehicles right to where he picked us up, and then we unloaded our vehicles into the, both of us, not just one of us.
yeah,
And we hauled all that crap right to where we needed it. And yeah, dude, that was that. I mean, great experiences.
yeah,
Such
one
great experiences.
one of the great twists that Slater put on the whole running of the Toronto tournament, other than rebranding the naming of it, and then he added this wonderful. They did a raffle draw, and the grand prize was, because he worked for Air Canada, was you could fly anywhere in the world that Air Canada flew for free as long as they have accompanied you, and he would also pay the tournament that you wanted to go. So a lot of people actually, if they won, they went to Santa Cruz. So Slater probably went to Santa Cruz like 5 years in a row because
Nice.
everybody wanted to go there. But he also had a houseboat, and yeah,
Like ran the
he-
tournament off a houseboat.
yeah,
Brilliant.
that was
Brilliant. You just load
Yeah.
in once. That's like back in the day, and I think they still do this. I think they still run events in Milwaukee out of the Orchard, which is a little bar with a dance hall in the back down the street from the court from Dretska. And like we'd come in on Fridays, and they'd have AMs on Fridays and pros on Saturdays, or flip flop it one way or the other. But we'd come in and just load in our merch and leave them there all weekend long.
Yeah.
Similar kind of a fashion. And then they
That's
would let you
awesome.
get in on the payout with the funny money. And that's another, Milwaukee's another town. I should have said Milwaukee in there. Like just
Mhm.
the state of Wisconsin. I could move to the state of Wisconsin, and I'd have friends everywhere from the disc golf scene from the old days, and there were several times in those days that I played 6 events in Texas and 6 events in Wisconsin in out of the year.
The first time I ever saw Barry Schultz from Wisconsin was at the Veterans Park Open in Texas,
Yep.
and he
He
was
came down here
so
a
glad
lot.
to be there. Yeah, I
Yeah, well, I was
mean,
working on the Zebos trophies, and I put, same as on the USDGC trophies, I put the names of the winners on the back, and Barry's won the Zebos Open about like 5 times,
wow.
like the originals. And and he was shooting those crazy under par rounds back in, when that thing was new in 99, 2000, 2001.
Well, that's
Amazing.
just a jaunt up and down the 35. That's easy for you guys. It involves international
Well,
air
it's
traffic
2
for
days.
us.
It's a
But yeah,
2-day drive for him, but yeah.
I remember the first time I ever went to Iowa, and I met some Iowa golfers, and the trip, the late winter, early spring trip to Texas was always their big thing. That was the boys' weekend.
Oh yeah, Justin McClure.
And
And
Kuzi, Mike Suzanne.
Cozy. Coos.
Oh, Kuz.
Yeah, that's we gotta get him on too.
Well, that was a really good show with Brad. I hope he had a good time with it. I think we brought to bear some interesting points for him to talk about. And
Oh, he's still watching.
right on.
Yeah, so hey, like, I'll give a couple shout outs. I don't know how many people are still watching, but Brad tuned in after he jumped off. His brother Brian, what's up, Brian? Hope to run into you again at some point. Timmy Gill, who was the champion at the 95 Am Worlds in Cincinnati, is still watching. Cam Schwartz watched. My buddy Robert Mans from Wichita jumped in. One of my East Side locals, Josh Killingsworth, is watching. Dave Northrup tuned in.
Hey, right on.
John Myero, Roger Veranek, Dennis Integer. Those are, I'm not sure where Roger's from. I think he's from Iowa. But John and Dennis are from my area. And Chase McMichael, and I'm not sure where he's from, but we had a few people stop by, even on a Friday night. And I think it's time for a little hockey.
I think the puck's about to drop like
Well, 20
in a
minutes.
few minutes.
When they
Very
say
good.
I've learned this week, when they say we already had noticed that the 7:30 starts weren't really 7:30 starts, and if we walked in, there's this ramen place that we like to go before the games called Jinya, and if you walk in at 7, you can still get it all in, and you can still get to your seat before they drop the puck because it's like 7:45. Well, it's really truly 7:50. In this case, it's 8:50. So we still got 18 minutes yet.
Yeah, well, they haven't,
But
no
I gotta
action
pee
yet
too,
on the
so-
scoreboard. We've got a 1-1, we're in the third period, Carolina, New York Islanders, and it's 1-1 tie. Under 5 minutes left to play. And Boston, Florida, we've kind of just started the third period. Boston's up 2-0, which should
Yeah.
not be a surprise to anybody.
Probably gonna be driving. Islanders on the power play, so you never know, that might work out for them. Or they may be going late.
Well, it's going to be a fun night regardless. I hope you have a fun night, whatever the score is. Hopefully
Me
it's
too.
good.
I will.
to
I mean, as
your
long as it's not a
results.
blowout. I mean, I understand it's not. It's that series is not going to be won tonight by either team.
Honestly, if you're on the positive side of a blowout, life's pretty good, like we were last night. But if you're on the negative side of a blowout, like we were in game 1, that's a long 60 minutes.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, even with us, like Tuesday, I mean, ours wasn't negative till the very end, but Tuesday I was not. I wasn't firing on all cylinders, and I wasn't at all happy.
Well, hopefully you're going to be waking up happy tomorrow, my friend.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for all this, and thanks for all your work on this. And
We got next week, we've got Jonathan Poole up, right?
yes, sir, we do. And I will send him a message tomorrow. I'm not going to bother him yet tonight, but I'll send him a message tomorrow and see about. I'm thinking that Thursday might be the day for me, but we'll talk about this more tomorrow.
But wouldn't it be your Dallas Stars game is tonight,
Tuesday, Sunday.
Tuesday, and Thursday?
Oh, maybe it is Thursday. All right. Well, then I'll check into it. We'll figure it out tomorrow. If we
Obviously,
get it published, I'll get the post up tomorrow as well.
during the playoff run, schedules will be determined based on availability of Mace and or me. But,
All right, y'all.
All right, Mace, good show, buddy.
All right, you too. We'll talk to you
Enjoy
soon.
the game. See everybody out there.
All right, later.